This is Gabriel Gonzalez for Cageside Press, and I'm here with the new signee, part of the merger of the PFL and Bellator, Aaron Pico, who takes on Gabriel Braga on February 24th. Aaron, I'd like to start with the obvious questions. Just the last several months with the acquisition and everything, just what's it been like for you?
Everything has been good. I can control what I can control. I'm really happy with this PFL Bellator merging. I think it's good for us fighters, and it's it. We have new challenges that we're gonna face as far as opponents and more eyeballs to the sport. I'm happy. I'm happy. Everything is good.
Can you take me back a little bit? I mean, obviously, we hear rumblings for weeks and weeks, and obviously, it wasn't completely a surprise. But what is it like when you wake up or you hear that news? Yeah, PFL acquires Bellator, things are changing. What's that like just from the athlete's perspective for you?
Well, as far as the business side and stuff like that, it's not really something that I get too involved in, obviously, because it's I let the management and the president and all those people behind the matchmakers get involved with that, and they take care of that. But it's for me, I always just kept the mindset of just be ready, just be ready for when they call and they want you to fight. The answer is going to be yes. And of course, there's a little bit of uncertainty. When are you going to fight? Or you don't know when. Your manager doesn't really know what's going on, so it's kind of a little bit um, nerve wracking, but just kind of you're just kind of in limbo. But I just stayed focused and trained and went on some vacations and rode my horse, spent time with my son and trained. And I knew that everything was going to be it was all going to work out because it always does. And now we're here. We're 3 weeks away from the fight, and on a biggest card that they've put together. And exciting time for the fighters and the fans.
One last question on a little bit of the sentimental side.
Yeah.
Going into your last fight, the talk about the acquisition and the changes weren't as strong as they were later in the year with 300 and the final November event. When you look back on it, having come up your entire pro career with Bellator, I guess, how do you reflect on it? Did you feel like you got a lot of it? Because obviously now things are very different. Did you feel like, hey, if this was my last Bellator fight, I'm good with how it all went down in terms of how I appreciated it?
Yeah, I'm happy. I don't really think of stuff like that too much. I just I go if they want me in Ireland, I go to Ireland to do one job to do my job, and that's it. That's kind of like how I think of it. I'm always respectful, and I'm so appreciative of all the people that work behind the scenes, and I'm always so happy with they always help me out, and I'm happy being there. But at the end of the day, I have a job to do. I go do my job, and then I come home. That's really how I put it.
I mean, look, you fought everywhere, California, New York, overseas, put on a show. Does the scope of this one feel different with, going to Saudi, just the pomp and circumstance of it all?
I'm excited to go to Saudi Arabia. I've been watching obviously all the boxing that they put on, and they seem like they're really putting a lot of effort into combat sports and boxing and now MMA to put on big events. And to be a part of that is really cool because I know 20 years from now, 30 years when I'm reminiscing about the good old days of when I used to fight, to be able to say, oh, I was in Saudi Arabia and look what they're doing now with all the big fights, and I was a part of that early on, is it's an honor. And they seem very excited, and they're putting a lot of energy and putting the best fights on in the world. And I just want to be able to continue fighting the best people on the planet, being on the biggest cards. And this is one step closer to consistently do that.
Going overseas, you're not a stranger to it, but Saudi is a bit of a long flight no matter how you slice it. Have you thought about some things you're going to do to make sure you're dialed in and everything's peaking at the right time physically for fight night?
Yeah, I have. I right now my weight is good. My training is where it needs to be, and I'm healthy. But I'm gonna do a little bit of I'm gonna acclimate in Morocco and do some training out there, get kind of used to the time change, and then acclimate there, and then fly from there to Saudi Arabia. So that's kind of what works for me. In Ireland, I just flew in a couple days before, and the time change, messed me up a little bit. But the biggest factor is the weight. The plane sometimes puts a little bit of weight on you, and if I can kind of save some energy and kind of doing it in a two-part travel sequence, it's I'm gonna do it that way. So that's worked for me when I've wrestled. So I feel it's gonna work for me in the fight game. So excited.
Gotcha. I've been asking all the fighters coming up from Bellator. I'd like to ask you also the schedule and what it could look like. Obviously, this is a one-off, like as a pay-per-view. They're gonna have another one late in the year, but then you have the Bellator series. PFL has a regular season. You seem like a guy who could really compete in both and would be a great asset. Have they talked to you, or have you thought about what you're going to be a part of later this year?
No, no, I haven't given it much thought. I haven't talked to my manager about it too much or anything like that. Um, just to be frank, I haven't really read too much as far as the media, what's going on with Bellator and PFL. I have my contract, I have my things locked into place, and I've al- I've al- I've just told myself that just be ready for when they call you, and if it's to fight in Saudi, if they want me to fight in Ireland, they want me to fight somewhere in Europe. My team and I are locked and loaded and ready to go. So I don't really put too much thought into it too much. So yeah.
I hate to put you on the spot, but just so we have it on the record, if your manager were to call and they say, Aaron, they want you to turn it around in April and you're going to have four more fights this year before December, how would you feel about that?
If I'm healthy, say yeah, that's good because my bank account will look good at the at that time. So
With the
I would
tournament,
say,
hey, and the million at the end of it,
oh, are
right?
you talking about the tournament, or are you talking
Yeah,
about just fighting four
yeah,
times?
the tournament,
Oh,
like regular season and on that 2 months each fight schedule.
oh, you know what? I would have to sit down and figure out what makes sense. But fighting as frequently as possible. If I had four fights in a year, I mean, like I said, I would be happy. I'd be really really happy. And I don't. You can't shut one door and say no. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm an open guy, and I come to the table and figure out what is best. And my job is to fight and be a warrior. It's as simple as that. So I got to fight tough guys. I got to weigh in. I got to watch my weight. It just comes with my job. So I'm willing to do that all year round. So I'm ready for anything to answer your question.
Appreciate that answer. I think a lot of fans will be excited to hear that too. To talk about Gabriel Braga before I let you go, what do you think of his game and what he brings to the table?
Great fighter. Very, very good. He's young. He's been around the game since he's been a young kid. He's that generation that has been a young kid saying, I want to be an MMA fighter. And now that he's 25, he's finally doing it. So we have our work cut out for us. But I'm a tough fighter as well, and I think I will push the pace on him, and it's going to be an exciting fight. But we're going to go out there and get the job done.
I'd be remiss if I don't ask. Obviously, we hear about, the things that happened with his family and losing his coach and his father. What is your reaction when you hear about your upcoming opponent going through something like that?
My thing is just my family and I send our condolences to his family and to him. It's unfortunate. I couldn't imagine losing my father, especially the way that it happened. And my condolences to him and his family. That's all I have to say.
Appreciate that. Aaron, final question. As we do this and we think about the next chapter, PFL and everything, I can't help but remember this young man who was going to make his debut in Madison Square Garden. He was clean cut. He didn't have the Teen Wolf thing going on. He wasn't a
Yeah,
father yet.
yeah.
You're definitely a new guy since then. If Aaron Pico had the magic pen to write the script. What does this chapter of his life and career in PFL look like?
Well, I think becoming a world champion and defending my belt as many times as I possibly can, and I think at the end of the day is doing that, but doing it my way. I'm like you said, clean cut, and I have a certain, I don't talk trash at all, and just kind of do my thing, and just train, fight hard, and live my life. That's ultimately what I want to do, and just be happy, train and fight, make money, spend time with my son, and ride my horses, and that's what makes me happy. So I just want to continue that and grow every day as a person, as a fighter. And I always say, I'm not going to be the man I am today 3 years from now because I feel like I'm going to be better. I'm not going to be the fighter I am today than 3 years from now because I'm striving to get better. That's how I think, and just want to be remembered as a great champion, inside and outside the cage. That's my goal.
Well, Aaron, we always appreciate it. Always been one of the people and just chill and living your life and kick a butt. I'm glad to see you continuing to get opportunities in this next chapter. I'm sure this fight's going to be a good one, so best of luck, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Gabriel.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Pico taking on Gabriel Braga, February 24th, Bellator versus PFL on pay-per-view. You guys are not going to want to miss it.